All right, first I'd like to talk a little bit about Cicero. He was born in 106 BCE and died in 43 BCE during kind of a conflict against the Roman Empire during or after the death of Julius Caesar, who was his contemporary. He was born in Arpino, Italy, and is considered to be one of the most prolific Roman orators ever. And not only was he an orator, but he was a philosopher, a lawyer, a consul, a politician, and also known as one of the great linguists because of his impact and influence on not only the Latin language, but also all of the other European languages that followed. He wrote many books, letters, and speeches for famous politicians of the day. Specifically, one of the letters I'll be doing is the Epistularis Familiaris. You can see its center here is one of the, actually the only main illustration that we have in this text here. So a little bit about these letters. They were written from 62 to 43 BCE, and it's a collection of many letters to some of his friends or contemporaries, peers, what have you, such as Cicero, Pompey, and his closest friend Atticus, who he has many dozens and dozens of letters to. During some of his hardest times in his life, Cicero wrote to Atticus for mentorship and kind of just venting and sometimes complaining at that. So in the upper right hand corner you can see the leather bound incunabula that these letters are contained in. You can see in the bottom picture it was made in Venice, also we know as Venice, and you can see Bonitus Locatalis and Christophorus de Penzis made it for Octavianus, Scatus, in 1494. It was printed on paper and it's bound in this really beautiful leather. I tried getting a picture of the cover, but they had this like glossy film over it to protect the cover, and it glared, so I couldn't really get a good picture. These are about as good as I could get. So this is when you first open the book up. You see this illustration. You obviously have Cicero in the middle, and he's dictating to looks like these scribes, and you see these abbreviated names up top, and those actually correspond to this right here. So you have the same illustration. This is the same page, just the full page. So it says right here, it says here, these things are contained in this volume, and obviously Marcus Tullius Cicero, letters to family, or not family, but friends. And then it also has the names of the people who provided commentary, and also, as you can see, interpretation, political interpretation at that. So it's saying what's inside, everything that's inside this book, not only the letters of Cicero, but also the commentary and interpretation of what these letters meant. So here you can see what, if you open to any page in the book, kind of what you would find. You have the illustrated letters that kind of look, well, not exactly, but they look very similar to what you would see in a handwritten book. These incunabula were obviously some of the first printed books, so they wanted to kind of ease the change from going from handwritten things into printed. They wanted to make that transition as smooth as possible, and this kind of, eases in giving that same effect. And also you can see not completely printed. It has these fingers which are pointing to things that they would like to highlight within the book as well. So I know we pointed that out in class on Thursday. So that's some of the text. This right here is the text that I'd like to analyze. You can see inside here is Cicero's writing right in here, and down here is a little more cleaned up version of what is said right here. I'll get into that a little bit later. But around here you can see this is not Cicero's writing. This is the writing of the commentators and the interpretators. And you can tell how influential and historically important Cicero was overall, and how important he was in history by how much, just how much commentary there is here. You have about 3.5 sentences worth of writing from Cicero, and then you have about 2 full pages of commentary. And it's pretty amazing that one person can have such an impact. And it's not just 2 pages, but these are large pages. I believe the Merlin catalog by the University of Michigan said that this folio is 31 centimeters, and that's probably roughly 13 inches high. So I mean, this is relatively small font and a pretty big book. So that's a lot of commentary for 3.5 sentence of bolded, larger font writing. So really the general gist of this story is Cicero is writing to Spinther, as he's commonly known, who is in Sicilia at the time, and Cicero is in Rome, actually. And really what's going on is Cicero is writing to Spinther to kind of say thank you for kind of a tough spot that Cicero was in at this time. So Cicero was being actually attacked with money bribes, and Spinther kind of came to Cicero's rescue not rescue, but he kind of smoothed the situation out for Cicero. So if we get into some of the Latin, this right here is obviously a little bit of it is annotated and a little bit shorter than what is said here. Obviously, they wanted to save space and things like that. But actually, as I kind of tried getting into translating it a little bit more, some of the words are actually switched around in the text. They didn't actually match some of the text that I found online of the Epistulae Familiaris. So I took this in green font and put it in here just so it's a little bit easier for us English speakers to kind of get a sense of what's going on here. If you read this Latin text right here, you can get a feel for what's going on. But the order of this is just a little bit easier to get a grasp of. So getting into the Latin, tanta inem magnitudo est tuorum erga me meritorum. So this sentence says, your service was so great to me that this ut clause is governed by this tanta. So this tanta is a signaling word for a result clause. So this makes this a result clause. So quoniam tu nisi perfecta redeme non conquiesti ego. So your service was so great to me that since you did not rest until these things were completed for me. In your case, I did not have the same effect. Basically, what he's saying here is I did not affect your situation the same way. So he's saying basically I didn't help you out, but you helped me out, and he's kind of grateful for that. And that kind of goes on with vitam mihi esse acerbam putem. So here's an indirect statement saying how he thinks that his life is a burden to others. It's just another way of saying thank you. I'm grateful. So in causa haec sunt. So he's saying there are difficulties in this situation that Ammonius regis legatus aperte pecunia nos appugnat. So he's saying Ammonius, ambassador or senator of the king, openly attacked us with money. So he's basically saying that he was bribing him, and obviously this puts Cicero. This puts Cicero in a tough spot, being in the public position that he has. So the rest goes on. Res agitur per eostem creditores per quos cum tu aderas agibatur. So it says this was done by the same money lenders, creditors, and then per quos is saying quos is modifying creditores. Those same creditors who, when you were around, did this. So basically saying these are the same money lenders that when you were in Rome, they were lending money. So he's basically saying, they're the same people who have always been in town, kind of thing. So that kind of concludes my presentation. Let me know what you think about the Prezi. It's a pretty cool idea. It's really easy to use, and that's really fun to make. Actually, it's pretty interactive and fun. So thanks.